multiplying fractions. When multiplying fractions, multiply the numerators with one another and then the denominators with one another. Really simple, but it's different from what we do in terms of adding. Right? So, when we're multiplying, really, we're looking at the top, we're multiplying the two tops, we're multiplying the two bottoms together to get our final fraction. So, right, when we multiply them, 3 times 2, 6. 5 times 7, 35. Now, we always look to simplify, regardless. Right? Just because we get our answer going, sweet, got my answer. Always look to simplify your fraction in lowest terms. Sometimes it might already be in lowest terms. Sometimes you may need to change it to lowest terms. Okay? Can I divide anything evenly into top and bottom? Can I? No. So my answer is 6 over 35. Okay. So, now I decided to put a little, it's not really tricky, but we've got a whole number multiplied by a fraction. So I've got a whole number divided by a fraction. Now, the rule says multiply numerators with numerators, denominators with denominators. Is 2, the way I have 2 there, can I write that as a fraction?
Yes.
How?
2 over 1.
2 over 1. Okay. Here's one way of solving it. Put the whole number, put a 1 underneath it. Because 2 divided by 1 is 2. Stays the same. Right? But I can still write it as a fraction. Which means now the rule that I stated up here still applies. Multiply my numerators together, multiply my denominators together. Okay? So, 2 times 3 is? 1 times 10? 10. Is it in lowest terms? What can I divide evenly?
2.
2, right? So divide top and bottom by 2. And what does it simplify to? What does it simplify to? 3 over 5, right? 3 over 5. Now, another way to do it, when we have the whole number, okay, we can ignore the whole over 1, right? Or we can just do this. Let me rewrite this. So 2 times 3 over 10. Treat the whole number as a numerator. Okay. So all you're doing is multiplying 2 times 3, which is 6. And then this denominator that's there stays there. Okay, that's another way of solving a question like that. Okay. So, and then simplifying that, of course, and doing the same thing, 3 over 5. But remember, 6 over 10, now to recap something we were taught yesterday, 6 over 10 and 3 over 10, how do they relate to one another? They are equivalent fractions. Very good. They mean the same. Remember, because if we divided, right, if we converted now fraction to decimal as we did yesterday, divide the numerator by the denominator, exactly the same. That's why we can simplify. Bless you. That's why we can simplify. Because 6 over 10, right, and 3 over 5 mean exactly the same thing, even though they're different numbers. But this fraction means the same thing. Right? It's just like with yesterday's lesson when I showed you guys the pizza cut in half and then the pizza cut in 8 pieces. If I'm eating half, I'm still eating half. Even though half with the 8 slices was 4 out of 8 slices. Okay. So, multiply the following fractions reduced to lowest terms. So take a moment and work on these ones. First one, what do we get? 3 over 10. So, we just multiplied numerators, denominators. We got 3 over 10. Could we simplify it? No. Next one over here. First step, what do we get? We multiplied 8 over 15, right? Just multiply them. Can I divide anything into top and bottom? No. Right? So it's already in lowest terms. Okay. So they're both correct. So sometimes you'll get questions where they'll work out perfectly and your final answer is your final answer. Sometimes you'll have to actually take that extra step to simplify the lowest terms, okay? So, solve the following. So here's a problem solving. Okay, we want to find half of 3 over 5. Let's look at in terms of a diagram. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to envision this in a diagram. So we're trying to find half of something. What is that something? 3 over 5, right? So here's 3 over 5. Okay, so we have our whole cut into 5 equal pieces. But we're only referring to how many of these pieces? 3 of these pieces, right? So, now if I want to find half of this whole, I'm going to do this. I'm cutting it in half. Right? I'm cutting it in half. So how many equal pieces are we referring to now? We're referring to 10 equal pieces. Right? We're referring to 10 equal pieces. Right? So, once we cut it in half, right? Once we cut it in half, right? So, what do we end up getting now? If we're referring to only half of that, really, how many pieces are really shaded?
6.
Think about that. 3 of them, right? Because we're only referring to half of the 3, of the 3/5. So we're only referring to half of this. So there's 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces. Because we only want half of what I'm showing. Okay? Half of what I'm showing. So in reality, what is my fraction? 3 over?
10.
Now, how would I have gotten 3 over 10 now without having to use the diagram method?
Multiply.
Exactly. So, I take this, right? My main fraction that I'm referring to is the 3 over 5. I only want to find half of it. So it's kind of like, here's a discount. 50% off this outfit. Alright? So 50% off a pair of shoes. So really you're trying to find half of whatever the price is. So the price is $100. Half of it would be $50. Right? So when we're thinking of it right, half of 3/5, we're multiplying. So the rules state when we're multiplying 3 times 1, 3, 2 times 5, 10. And our fraction is 3 over 10. Okay. Any questions about this? Next, problem solving. Your parents suggest that you put at least 2/5 of each paycheck into a savings account. If you make $250 during each pay week, how much are you putting into savings each time? If there are 26 pay weeks in a year, how much will you save in 1 year? Now, this $250 per each pay week, you're getting paid every 2 weeks. Okay? So you're working whatever part-time, right? And the check you get every 2 weeks, right, will be $250. But your parents say, you know what? Put 2/5 of it into savings, and you can use the rest which way you want. Okay? So, think about this. If you're making, so how much are you putting away each savings each time? Okay. And then worry about part B. So worry about part A first. So you just got a part-time job. Right? This is your job today. Right? You just got to pay. It's your first week yesterday, or this is your first week. Okay, yesterday you started. Next Friday will be your first paycheck. You're getting $250. That your parents, your guardians told you, save 2/5 of that paycheck. So put that in the bank. let's look at the following. You're asked to put away 2/5 of your paycheck into savings. Put that into the bank. How much are you making in the pay week? Every 2 weeks? How much? $250, right? So we want to find, of the $250, right, 2/5 of it. So we're multiplying. Right? So we're multiplying. So we're multiplying a fraction by a whole number. What do we say? What do we say?
You can put it over 1.
Over 1?
And just multiply it with the numerator.
Exactly. So I can either put it over 1 and multiply my numerators, multiply my denominators, or I can just multiply my numerator with my whole number and keep my denominator. So, 250 times 2, 500. And it's over 5. So how much are you being asked to save? $100. So which means, how much are you going to get to spend? 150 bucks of that paycheck. And that's only if you're making as little as 250 bucks in 2 weeks. Right? But, right, here's where, the reason why I put this is because we need to know how to save money, right? We need to learn to save money, not just, we get it, go out and spend it. Because now, here's the next part. In a year, you're going to get paid 26 times in the year, right? How many weeks are there in a year? 52 weeks. If you're getting paid every 2 weeks, right? How many times are you getting paid in a year? 26 times, half of that. So 26 weeks, right, that you're going to get paid. How much of that is actually going to be saved in a year? Exactly. There are 26 pay weeks times the $100. $2,600 you'll be able to save in a year. So let's say you started working this year, right, and you were making as little as that. Right? Our minimum wage gone up to, I think, $10 or something like that. So you'll obviously be able to maybe make more than that. But in 4 years, if you're able to put away that, if you're able to discipline yourself and put that away, by the time you hit grade 12, or you finish grade 12, right, how many years should it take you? 4 years. So how much will you be able to save in the 4 years? $10,400. So if you're able to discipline yourself to save that kind of money, $100 every 2 weeks, right? If you have a part-time job, look at how much you could save by the time you graduate high school. Pretty good money to be able to buy yourself a car. Mind you, there's all the other fees that you got to worry about, like insurance and gas and all that stuff. Right? So don't be fooled thinking, oh, I can afford this car. Always find out how much the insurance costs. Because the insurance on certain cars are more. I don't think that just because you got a car, you're going to get the same insurance quote. Okay? So you want to always find out about stuff like that as well. But anyway, forget about that. That's still $10,000 towards tuition. I'm assuming that some of you guys are thinking of going to university after the 4 years. Some of you guys are thinking about going to college after 4 years. So you got to be thinking about those expenses as well. Right? Some of you might be going away for college or university. Right? Then you got to worry about living on your own. Parents aren't buying you the groceries anymore. You're the one buying them. You're the one buying the little things like your socks, your underwear. Right? The little things, paper towels. What? I got to pay for that stuff? Okay. So these are things to think about. Right? And remember, $250, that's, you're not really working very, very much. Right? To make $250. Okay, in 2 weeks. So odds are you'll be able to, if you do put away, let's say something like 2/5 or even 1/5 of it, right? You could probably be making a little bit more money. Okay.